Welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Inside Track. We've got a fantastic guest with us today as we get towards the end of the series. So it's great to have you on. Malcom Mcphail, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for having me today. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, no, absolute pleasure. I've wanted to get you on for a while, so really looking forward to it. And as always, trusty sidekick Glenda, how are you?
Definitely a lot better since my operation. I don't look like I've been eaten by a lion as much as I did. And I did use that in the supermarket the other day when someone says, "Oh my gosh, what's happened to your face?" I said, "Oh, did you not know that I got attacked by the lion when I was in Africa?" It was quite cool. I enjoyed it.
Nice one. Well, I think just to caveat quickly, obviously, Glenda, you're here for a short period this morning because you've got to shoot off. So if anybody sees us sneaking off, that'll be why. And then let's jump straight in. So obviously, Malcom, you've been in the industry a long while, and most of us who've been around probably as long as you, we obviously know exactly who you are. But do you want to give us a quick run through in terms of your career, where you come from, and currently what you're doing now?
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. It's my favourite subject, talking about myself, so just cut me off when you need to. So yeah, I've just about done everything. I started life off, as we're just talking off air, as a lifeguard, which I was pretty poor. I'm not going to use the language I used, but I was poor. And then I decided that I love sport. I was already taking part in athletics as a junior athlete that I got into really as a kind of escape from quite a difficult childhood. We maybe talk about that later. So sport athletics has really saved my life. That's why I owe it so much. Went to Jordan Hill College, did a PE degree, taught for a couple of years, absolutely loved it. And then get into sports development. So I've been a sports development officer, PE teacher, and then I went down to Bolton Metro and was their leisure manager. That was when I started to get introduced to GP referral programs. Was at Bolton for a couple of years, and then I met a couple of guys who were running next generation clubs. Out in America at USA.
Oh wow!
When, they invited me in for a wee interview, and felt that I was the right guy to general manage their first club at New Haven in Edinburgh. So that was a massive, what can I say, lift for me, because of all the people they could have chosen in the industry to choose me, and basically coming from local authority at that time as well. I went.
It's a big jump, isn't it? That
massive, massive.
Because they were vastly different at the time, probably even more so than they are now.
Yeah, so my career's littered with taking jobs on that I have had no idea how to do, and learning in situ. I've said yes to almost everything. So, as PE teacher to sports development, not a clue. Sports development to leisure contracts management, not a clue. Leisure contracts management to managing the biggest probably club in Europe at the time, not a clue. And actually, when I moved from Next Generation, once David Lloyd, I stayed at Next Gen for 7 great years. I obviously went from 1 club to 20 clubs, and then I moved into there. I was a global health and fitness director with clubs in Australia as well. Then when David Lloyd came and bought Next Generation, which was great for Scotty Lloyd, getting his dad's name back and being in charge of David Lloyd. I just felt we went for this family organisation. I went to Scott's wedding, to moving into this kind of like big corporate. I felt that I was happy with the 7 years I'd done, and I'd wanted a new challenge. And then again, taking a job on as chief executive of a leisure trust, not a clue, at Life Leisure in Stockport in 2007, and then built that organisation up from being a leisure trust very much at risk to be one of the most successful leisure trusts you know, this is not my words in terms of this is that your record's your record, right? So
Absolutely.
you win like, you know, I think we've 25 national awards in 4 years, including Leisure Centre of the Year. Health and overall, we won the overall first health and fitness facility of the year, the UK Active when it was merged together, rehabilitation facility of the year, leisure operator of the year. So yes, so that.
Do you mind me asking you, just because you describe such an amazing story and journey, but you talk about the fact that you didn't know it all as you started, what are like the 3 top things that sort of jumps out at you as what you learned about life? I'm just so fascinated by that. What would you say to people if you tried to summarize that about how you managed to do that, even although you didn't always have the skills or the tool set when you started?
We've lost him.
Oh. I know this guy, by the way. It's so funny. I'm so sorry. I knew there was something not right about the time.
Right, we're jumping back in when you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, it just kept kicking me out, so I was frantically typing, but I got
No, you're fine. I can cut that bit out and edit it. Do you want to start your question again, Glenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Malcolm, you know, you describe a journey where, for all intent and purposes, you've had to learn in the job. And I just wondered, taking all that crazy experience and it's priceless. What would be the 3 key things that you would say that's my top 3 learnings of all those jobs? What would you say?
Oh, brilliant question. So I'm going to take you back to my childhood. So I'm sitting in the end of my bed in the care home, a 13-year-old in Ayrshire, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to put up with this shit anymore. I'm going to take control of my life. And then going out and saying, I'm going to have a good day, and actually having a good day and realizing you can control everything around you. So
wow.
The first thing I would say would be that you can absolutely control everything in your life if you work out a strategy how to do it.
Oh, so I love this.
That's the first thing, and that's a lived experience, and that's out with. So that's Malcom Mcphail. That's no like business or commercial. That's just a lived experience. Number 2, I would say I use the 4 bridges principle. Work out the people around you. Bridges to burn, bridges to cross, bridges to stay on, bridges to build. And they are the 4 bridges, and they are the 4 types of people you have around you. And don't be scared to burn bridges. Like all these guys who tell you compromise and like, you know, adjust and, you know, don't let anybody leave the room, keep everything intact. That's bullshit. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be a monster. Like, I love Jordan Peterson, you know, but you've got to control it. And you've got to know when there's people around you just sapping the living daylights out you. Get them out your life. But it's also important to know that, and I always say, and this is my final one in a second, something to chase. But it's also important to recognize when you're onto a good thing. And bridges, you can actually stay on a bridge. You don't always have to be going somewhere. You can stay on your bridge. And it's, so that's my second point. Just work out the 4 bridges and where you are in your life.
So just for the listeners again, burn bridges, build bridges, stay on bridges. What was the 4th one?
And cross bridges. It's time to move from one area to another.
How lovely. You know, I'm a resilience expert, Malcolm, and what we do see all the time is people who have had adversity in their life or tough childhoods or upbringings. We can see so much post-traumatic growth, and you've just proved that in bucket loads. So for people out there that have maybe held on to baggage of the past, you just need to listen to you for 5 minutes to know that it can stay there. It doesn't need to define your future. And thanks for sharing that. That just fills my cup. So
and what was your point 3, Malcolm?
And point 3, always have something to chase. Like get up every day and chase something. And you know, and just on my last LinkedIn, 56, you know, still running. I'm still going to get to my favorite part when I tell you I was an international athlete and I'm still running as well. And my last LinkedIn 56, and getting up genuinely excited to go to the Northern Masters Championship.
I saw your post, and I was definitely going to bring it up at some point, because I think
we'll bring it up, because I've looked forward to talking about that. So like something to chase, and then just on that one, Glenda, just as a kind of postscript, is like the scars that you have in your life are you know, should remind you of the battles you've been through, but you've came through them, because they're actually there. And battle scars are good, and you know, so, and we can maybe talk a wee bit that later. So yeah, so they're the kind of the three things I would encourage people to look at in their lives.
Well, it's brilliant.
Well, let's focus on this this sporting thing then, Malcolm, because it sort of flows nicely from what you've been talking there. So obviously I saw you post the other day, obviously you're competing still at you're saying at the age of 56, you don't look it, but at the age of 56, and I've got a friend who's doing a similar thing. He's in the RAF and had a sort of mini stroke, and he was competing in the 200 meters out in Italy, I think it was, for Great Britain and stuff. So I think it's fascinating for if you've, you know, taken sport and you grow with it. So do you want to give us the history of your sporting achievement? Because it sounds like you competed at a good level.
Yeah. So 13-year-old sitting in the care home, having been quite naughty, local community police officer comes to me and says, look, we know who you are. You're going to Longregain Remand Centre. First chance we catch you, but we can't catch you. We know you're doing stuff. And he says to me, if you go down to the local athletic club, and a guy called Glenn Harrower will is agreed to look after you there. And all you have to do is stay there for a couple of months, and we'll let you go a wee bit. So I stayed there a couple of months. I stayed there longer. And by the time I was 15, I was Scottish long jump 200 meters and 400 meters champion.
Wow.
And that really, Glenn, and I think it's important also, Glenda, that people come into your life for a reason, and you should really, like, you know, I really just like stuck on to Glenn, and he really looked after me, and it's known who those people are as well, and keeping them in your life. And then I was an international athlete. I was a full-time athlete for a couple of years. I was a 400-meter runner. Wasn't good enough to make a lot of the British teams, because that was Roger Black, Chris Akabusi.
Tough time to be a 400-meter, 800 meters, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I went to 400 hurdles and had a good career at 400 hurdles. Retired at 30. And then I played a wee bit of football at a fairly high level, then get back into masters athletics at 40. And athletics for me had saved my life. And rather getting into coaching, I always make a point of being an athletic and a sports evangelist. So I'm not a coach, but if you ask me any questions, and especially youngsters, I always make sure that I give up my time and I speak to them. And
there's so many qualities that you're bringing through today, and you just say it like it's, you know, an average thing, but I can sense this massive thirst for knowledge, thirst for sharing it to others, and that's a kindness that we need to see in our leaders. And it's so funny, Malcolm, that you mentioned it about sport saving your life, because I was just speaking yesterday about my son's now representing Great Britain for shooting. Wow. And I've said this to Ryan, and Ryan's chatted about his kids together. But sport is phenomenal for giving our children a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, discipline, resilience, and the power of sport is unquestionable, right? And that's why you love the career, I guess, because you know for people.
100%. I just feel so blessed, and you know, you talk about discipline and resilience, and I think discipline breeds resilience, because the discipline that I learned in athletics through my training, I then applied that into my life, and then I applied that into my career. And I use the phrase in the LinkedIn message, Ryan, but if you come up against me, you better get ready to cough up a lung. And I mean that in business as well. You business, you better bring your A game. I like to think I'm a nice guy, but I'm also like I can be incredibly disagreeable. I can be incredibly and my joke about what's my point in the LinkedIn, and it's no humility. I don't see anything wrong with it's knowing when to be humble, but it's knowing also when to promote yourself. And I say it a lot to the young team up at KA and anybody who I get involved with emotional intelligence. If somebody asks you a question about how good you are, you should still be talking 30 minutes later. If they have got the audacity to ask you that, you take them 2 miles down the road. And youngsters don't do that these days.
I don't think they're very good at self-promotion at all. And I think I certainly could. I don't know why. I think it's almost bred into them, whether that be at school or whatever. We went through a real bad stage of like sport being participation. It was all about participation. Everyone should take part. Everyone's a winner. And you're like going to a point. But life's not about everybody participating. It's not. There's always winners and losers. And if you sit there in that middle ground going, I'm just going to participate, you will always be, and it's horrible to say, but you'll always be an also-ran. You'll always be that person that sits in the middle. You'll never be the leader. You might not be the loser, but you'll never be the leader if you just want to participate in something. And I think we've got to teach our kids to go, I want something, I'm going to go get it. And unfortunately, some people will lose when I get that. But that's okay because they may win in something else. They may not be their thing.
When Malcolm says that our kids don't do it anymore, in the work that I do in resilience, Malcolm, which is mainly professionals, corporate, C-suite and maybe middle management, self-belief is the biggest challenge in the resilience pillars that we see, other than energy. And I'm fascinated to ask you because we really underestimate the power of energy and the power of movement for our mind. And, the fact that you do run, you're a runner, right?
Yeah.
How would you say that helps you as a senior leader in business, the fact that you fill your own cup before you fill your team's? I just wondered, what does that do for you from a business perspective, the fact that you've stayed so healthy?
I think you want to be getting into a room, as I said before, known thinking, I'm going to have to bring my A game because this guy brings his A game and the energy, and he's in here all day. He might be 56, but he can, the energy he has, and I think you can win negotiations even way before you actually first open your mouth if people know your reputation and your first moments of that level of kind of negotiation, no matter what it is, right? And it could be negotiating the biggest deal, like a $9 million deal when we bought Stockport Sports Village, or you could be negotiating, a couple of guys' salaries. I think you have to project that who you are, and this idea of being somebody else and reading these books that tell you to be great leaders and best managers and choose these paradigms. You can't do that. All you can do is be the best you can be and use your lived experience and project that forward and be really authentic. And that's where the trust comes in terms of leadership, right? Because like Simon Sinek, trust and performance, two main key areas of leadership. And I think my athletics has also taught me how tough life is, and life itself has taught me how tough life is as well. So just answering your first point is life is hard, and we shouldn't sugarcoat it. It's played with big players, and you actually choose. You either need to lift your game, or you don't deserve to be a leader in this industry or any other industry. But what we choose to be is we blame other people, and we choose to be victims, and we choose to take other people apart. Concentrate on yourself. Don't worry about any other people. To be the best you can be, and this is what I don't like about this sex at the moment, Ryan, and it's where we started really getting to talk is about we use consultants, and you're a consultant. I'm also a consultant as well for MMX Leisure.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I love the idea of unity, and I love the idea that we have this space that everybody can get into. And I hate the fact that we have people scoring points off of each other in this industry. Life's tough enough.
It's been like that for, I mean, how long have I've been in the industry? 25 years, Malcolm. And the one thing I find really difficult is the fact we don't actually work together as an industry. So we sit there and COVID happened, or we all need to work together, this industry, the government needs to support us, all this. And then you go, actually, that business down there would quite happily watch you burn for them to be successful. How are you ever then going to Rishi Sunak and the government going, we need support as an industry, when actually you don't even support the club down the road? Or I'm not saying you have to give them members and give them club, but there's no working together, and it really disappoints me.
Malcolm's point about authenticity is so critical, because we were taught in the old days that you had to be a certain type of leader, and as Malcolm says, obviously, it's moved a long, long way. And yeah, Sinek has been a great advocate for the shift in the thought process around leadership. And I love the idea, Malcolm, that you talk about just be the best you, and that's enough. But I want to ask you, because what I've loved, and I know I'm not going to be able to stay much longer, but I'm going to follow up and get on a Zoom with you, Malcolm, because I could talk to you for hours, and I've got a few definite questions I want to ask you. So I will follow up with you. But what I've really observed in the 25 minutes is that I think it's fair to say that you are unapologetically you, and you're not scared to use your voice, whether it's popular or not. And I think that we need more people in leadership that would do that, not to be awkward, not to be a pest, but to actually give that rigor and challenge that we need for progress. So in the spirit of the fact that I know that you're not scared to use your voice and your opinion, I just wanted you to give me what you think is the number one thing that we're getting wrong in terms of why we're not raising the dial and participation as much as maybe we hoped. What would you say?
So I'll give you a philosophical answer, and then I'll give you a detailed answer that it's actually a lived experience at what I'm doing as a chief executive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the philosophical answer is, and I'll actually put this out on LinkedIn, is unity. It's what we've just talked about. We should move more to a federal approach in terms of a sector where there is governance around a federation. And if you don't agree with the federation, which is perhaps 70% of the total makeup of the sector, then you don't even deserve a place at the table. You don't deserve a consultancy position. You don't deserve to be a leader. So that's the philosophical. Listen, I know that is so hard, but that's the philosophical. The real kind of operational detail one is that we keep talking about a pivot to well-being, and we keep talking about changing leisure trust. It's not about changing the leisure trust. It's actually about being an agency along with public health, NHS, social services, the local authority, and actually being at the heart of that and putting yourself at the heart of that, because our engagement credibility and our track record, but unfortunately our engagement credibility and our track record is all in qualitative and narrative and public health and NHS, they want the qualitative stuff, and that's where we get battered all the time in terms of there's no proof of life.
Yeah.
In fact, there is massive proof of life. We just need to understand how to engage and work as part of a team rather than pivot to well-being in isolation. That's how we will get participation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Ryan talks about this a huge amount, about the criticality now of stakeholder management. You know, if we really want to be serious about being one of the solution providers for well-being, we have to dramatically upskill our people. We have to really show full-on commitment that we actually do want to change the dial on these health measures. And I'm going to be harsh to the people out there, but there's not many fitness or health clubs or centres in the UK that can give me any notable data that they shifted the dial on any major wellbeing outcomes. And by the way, they sometimes don't even measure the physical, never mind the rest. So it's a fascinating subject, and I feel very blessed, but very much like, you know, FOMO. I've got total fear of missing out now because I've got to go and do what I've got to do, and I'd rather be on here with you guys. So I'm very envious.
Well, sorry to say. Well, thank you very much for your time anyway this morning, Glenda. So I guess we'll have to leave you there, and
I will look forward to tuning in to hear the last half hour. Malcolm, when I come back from my travels in September, you're going to be one of the first people on my list for a half-hour Zoom.
I'll look forward to it, Glenda.
And it's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy the rest, guys. And Malcolm, you've inspired me to just get shit done today. So thank you.
Cheers, Glenda.
Bye. Bye.
So just moving on from what we're talking about, I guess you guys at KA Leisure, because I guess the problem we have in our industry is we're looking for all this work to get into the work with the NHS and everything else, but it seems to the private sector are almost sat there watching you guys as the trust, as the leisure centres, and sort of going, well, actually, it's not our problem, it's yours. But yet we all want this greater notice by the government. But actually, the private sector doesn't really want to get involved in it. And we almost go, well, well-being and wellness and GP referral and all that. Let's have the leisure trusts. And then obviously bitch and moan when you guys get your VAT changes. But what are you guys doing in terms of, because I know you guys are doing a huge amount of work. You did a lot at Life Leisure before, but you're doing a huge amount of work up there in Ayrshire. Do you want to run us through what you guys are doing?
Yeah. So, like everybody else, when I moved to North Ayrshire, my intention was to move KA Leisure to a health and wellbeing company model. Yeah. That was the initial plan, and it helped that North Ayrshire actually has one of its main pillars of delivering the community partnership plan as wellbeing. Now, geez, I don't know what they were thinking. Even a definition of well-being, and it was the first local authority in the UK that actually chose well-being. Believe this is absolutely factual, that had well-being as a pillar. So what is that right? Wow. Yeah, because I've also got a history. I've never done anything new. So the first thing I thought was, I'm going to go and copy somebody. And if, you know, Ryan, if you have a good idea, right, and you're daft enough to tell me, right, and I understand it, I'm having it.
Absolutely.
You know, so I thought, well-being, I'm going to go and nick it off of somebody else. There's got to be somebody else, not a soul. And the reason local authorities haven't chosen well-being as a pillar, I'm not saying it's not within a strategy somewhere, but as a pillar, the main pillar of the delivery of the partnership plan. So world, the green agenda, etc. Worklessness is really, and unemployment's massive in Scotland and massive in the west coast of Scotland. So that made sense. And then this the well-being aspect, and that really came from a drive for place setting delivery to take health and well-being out into the local population rather than hospitals and, you know, so that was the drive for that. So well-being, so I thought community well-being company, and I'll put the K at the heart of the delivery of this. And then, you know, I've got a really progressive and brilliant woman, Audrey Sutton, who is one of the chief officers at North Ayrshire, and said, you know, look, if you guys get your act together and you can spectrum also culture and drama and also some direct medical interventions, you know, you've got a chance here of being not only delivering part of this, but actually this. And I thought, brilliant idea. So then I went about to try and work out how we can put KA, a leisure trust, at the centre of the whole well-being delivery in North Ayrshire. And we developed 3 particular things. One was we developed a core program that will have up to 40 activities a day that will be based on sport, drama, art, that will not have outcomes directly related to the actual activity, but will have well-being and health outcomes. So you would have different classes to deal with different health interventions, mental and physical health. But also, if the worst case scenario, you're going to get people fit, yeah. But if you get people fit, give them more activity in terms of the continuum, but you also improve their mental health, you improve their diabetes, you improve their COPD, then you're really starting to make inroads in the health of the population. And it's one direct intervention, but you're 2 or 3 things at the same time. You're getting the overall protection and prevention activity, and then you're getting the direct intervention to solve the primary healthcare issue that you're dealing with, or they're dealing with. Because often we split primary and preventative up. So then that's where you start getting financial efficiencies, you start getting time efficiencies, and you start getting really proper social therapy engagement through the group setting as well. Okay. So
and do you work closely then with your other partners, with the NHS, with the council, so it's sort of almost an integrated? Because I see a lot of these programs where they look at it and it's almost like the Leisure Trust gets given, right, we need you to sort wellness out. So you almost go, okay, but to make it work properly, there's got to be that signposting to the other channels as well.
Yeah, no, so I chair the Wellbeing Alliance. So I sit with the great and good, the big leaders in North Ayrshire, and I chair the Wellbeing Alliance. So that's massive for because everybody's going, who's this guy, Malcom Mcphail? By the way, he's the chief executive of a non-statute delivery. How is he? But it's not like that. They've been absolutely brilliant. I can't begin to tell you like the talent that we have up there in leadership across the whole bandwidth of, and this is how we've got so far. It's because of the individuals have bought into this, they get it, and they're talented and they're great leaders. NHS, public health, social services. There's no one weak link up there. They're all brilliant people, men and women, and it makes my life really easy. And
is it easy to lift what you guys are doing and go, okay, I'm going to put this in Rochdale, or I'm going to put this in a council in the south of England or the Midlands? Can you take that? Is it a model or is it quite a unique model that you guys are running up there that potentially can't be shifted, but there can be learnings?
Yeah. So my answer is, it's not a complex model, but the road is fraught with difficulty. The road is fraught with gatekeepers of their areas that don't want you involved, and the reason we've been so successful is we don't have any gatekeepers, and it's these gatekeepers masquerading as leaders and progressive individuals, but the minute they're asked to give something up or hand over something that actually is for the greater good of the area or the greater good of the community, they're more worried about their own worlds. That is so it's not a difficult model paradigm, or there's not much complexity to it. It's in the relationships, and all I'm saying is that North Ayrshire, because of the previous work of KA in terms of engagement had done, this has got nothing to do with Malcom Mcphail, and the commitment to putting the people of North Ayrshire first makes it easier. So
isn't it scary though how you can have something that can work really, really well? It's proven to work where you guys are. It's driving the everything forward. You're getting great results. But yeah, if you try to take that same thing into a different area, there's people that's more worried about their own self and their own egos and their own whatever, that they won't allow something like that to happen. It does seem it's not uncommon at all. It happens in business, let alone in when you're trying to make things into a wider community project. But it is scary how things are held up because of that.
Yeah, it's toxic leadership, and it's individuals masquerading as authentic leaders when actually they aren't, and I don't think we're very good at as an industry as calling these people out, and we've had that conversation before.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't quite know what the answer is, but all I'm saying is, if we can do it in North Ayrshire, and every local authority in the land can do it.
I do tend to find, though, I mean, obviously, being English and being where I live, you do tend to find, and you look towards Scotland, because Scotland does tend to be a little bit more progressive. I know it has its other issues, but when it comes to these sorts of things, the community, they do tend to be, and even their politics tend to be more progressive than what we have down here. There seems to be more of an openness to try new things and work together and develop. Whereas down here, we tend to have this is the structure, this is how it stays. So I think the barriers tend to be a lot harder to break down in England themselves.
Oh, Ryan, that's such a good point. So, and it can be seen in the fact that we don't have the commissioning process in Scotland. So we don't have one agency or one individual in charge of deciding what flies and what doesn't fly, as in England. In England, you have to go through the commissioner, and the commissioner, if he doesn't want it done, goes, prove it. Let me see the stats. Let me see the quantitative data. And we are naturally, as Glenda and you said before, we're very, very poor at that.
But also, a lot of the stuff we do, Malcolm, it doesn't always give quantitative data. So it's very hard. So if you take your program, improving people's well-being and stuff like that, and there are obviously measures you can look at, but a lot of the measures in terms of improving someone's well-being aren't actually quantitative. You can't put a figure on it, a percentage. This is improved from that to that. It's just, we all know fitness and health and being healthy changes lives. Like you say, things like reducing diabetes, you can potentially measure and stuff like that, reducing obesity. But there's a lot of stuff there that's mental that you can't necessarily quantify in the same way. So someone has to take almost a punt and go, can we improve it? And then in the longer term, and I think this is what stops a lot of the stuff that we're trying to do, government won't invest because there's no short-term win. For us to have a proper impact on society, it's going to be 10 or 15 years. And no government's willing to put their neck on the line, pump money in, pump investment, pump whatever, make the changes for something that's effectively going to impact or be celebrated by another party in 10 or 15 years' time.
Yeah, another great point, Ryan. And what you can do is you can hit the middle ground. So the language is very different between what leisure trusts use on outcome focus for public health to NHS. So you can move from outcome language to process language, and we're using the University of the West of Scotland. They're coming in and they're going to support the delivery of the alliance on monitoring process-driven outcomes and actual outcomes themselves. So, if we started off now and said, right, through the program in 2 years, we want to improve diabetes in North Ayrshire. That's great, but actually, what we should be saying is we should be focusing the first 2 years on changing the process and changing the delivery of what we do in order that in 5 years' time, we can totally change diabetes in North Ayrshire. You have to adjust the process first of all before you can expect different outcomes. And there's nothing wrong with measuring the process changes.
Absolutely.
Firstly, before you measure the outcomes, we fast forward to outcomes, and the best people to help you do that are the academic people and the top academic people. So we are using University of the West of Scotland to help us format what we should actually be measuring, so that everybody gets to understand the accurate metrics of.
Do you know the great thing about that as well, Malcolm, is you're taking almost an independent study on what you guys are doing. So yes, you're working with them, but you've got independent academics looking at it from an academic point of view, because all the will in the world, we're operators. You know what I mean? Yeah. We do what we do, and to allow the academics to do what they need to do and almost prove our point for us is the perfect way to go about it, because you're not then managing your teams to go, we need this metric, this metric, this metric to prove a point for the long term. You've almost got someone running alongside you going, we want this because it's great for our studies, it's great for our, and we can obviously publish the data, and obviously you get the benefits at the end of it. That sort of relationship just works really well, I think.
100%. And I don't think, you know, the social impact values helped us, because all that did was, and I did one at Life Leisure, and all it did was create like a number of lines of inquiry to prove that it was inaccurate. You know, and it ended up like blown back against me. So I think the social impact values, and until we start getting real proper parameters around that's agreed by the government and agreed by all agencies, I think you're just wasting your money, to be honest. And let's face it, the first guys who did it, and I really apologize if I've got this wrong, were accountants. They started off looking at the social impact values. And when somebody says, you know, this class actually has a social impact value of £10 million, you sit in front of the commissioners and they go, no, it doesn't. And you know, it's you know, so what we have to do is what we talked about before, is get everybody on board, everybody in the bus, and then everybody heading off in the right direction. So again,
I guess we're in the same boat in that, because I strongly believe the governance that we have in our industry at the minute doesn't suit what we're trying to have as outcomes. So I get all the work UK Active are doing in SimSpa and all those, but at the minute we don't have a single governance. And I'm like you. I think we should have a single body that sits above us. That's not a trade body that looks after its members. It is almost a governing body. Well, it is a governing body or federal organisation that goes, okay, you need to be part of this. These are the standards. This is what we expect. Because I think the challenge we have at the minute, like you were saying earlier, is we have almost the public sector, we have the private sector, and sort of all these people in between. And it doesn't come together to go, okay, how do we? Because let's be honest, all the health outcomes and the fight with the government, we're almost expecting you guys, as the whole industry, 9,500 clubs or whatever we are, we're expecting the leisure trusts, really, because you can take your gym groups out and all of them, because I don't think they're driving those budget changes don't drive wellness and well-being. They drive activity use, obviously, of course they do, participation, but they don't drive all the great stuff you guys are doing. And we're almost sitting back as an industry going, okay, go on KA Leisure, go on Life Leisure, go on, you know, I mean, all the other GM Active and all those. You guys go and do it, prove our point, and then we'll see what the government gives us back. And I think that's such the wrong approach. It needs to be all 9,000 clubs. If we're going to move our pendulum forward and have 30% participation, it has to be everybody. We can't just rely on you guys to drive the agenda, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, listen, Brian, we could talk all day about this, and do you know what? Everybody who opens the doors up and helps people exercise and improve their exercise continuum for me is in well-being. You know, whether the gym group or whether David Lloyd realise that, but they also have to make money. Leisure trusts have to make money as well. So we're actually closer than you would first think. But the problem, what happened with COVID was, I think we annoyed everybody straight away by rolling out the big hitters for David Lloyd and the gym group and other organisations waxing lyrical about how much trouble we were. What we should have been doing is we should have been rolling out some other people talking about the importance of health and fitness and the impact that it has, rather than talking about the financials and what it was going to be doing to shareholder prices and stuff like that. We got that. And listen, I'm a massive fan of UK Active. I used to be on the board. We got that wrong. And I think we're still suffering. But I'm going to be huge. You've got to give the respect to all the guys I mentioned before. Anybody who opens their doors and improves people's fitness levels is going to improve their well-being, because you can be super fit but struggle with your mental health.
Absolutely.
And For me, it's maybe not just about exercise, it's about the community that the David Lloyds provide, and the gym group, etc. Kudos to them, but they just don't know how good they are at that. Do you know what I mean? I think if they knew that, if they tapped in to what Leisure Trust tap in and get the stories, I think if they tapped into that, I think, wow, they would have a real road to Damascus moment. They would have a real epiphany and go, wow, we impact so much more in people's lives than we first agreed. We can go on that agenda, and I'm hoping for that day.
Well, you never know. It may happen. Let's just while we've got sort of 10 minutes left, Malcolm. In terms of the sort of Ayrshire Wellbeing Alliance, because obviously that's quite unique in the country. Who's involved in that? How does it work? What are the benefits for, say, KA Leisure and the sort of wider community?
Okay, so local outcomes improvement plan. Realised that well-being was a big issue in North Ayrshire. So then we have the 3 pillars, as I mentioned before: work, well-being, and world. We had a delivery agency for world, we had a delivery agency for work, we didn't have a delivery agency for well-being. I'm up there thinking, I want to change into a well-being company. I'm having meaningful conversations and mature conversations with the deputy chief executive, and she goes, I think you've got a chance in this space. This is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to do this, and this, and this. Can you do it? And I'm going, yes. And I'm going to have to change. And so also as a senior independent director with SIMSPA are on the alliance as well, national agency. Sport Scotland are on national alliance. Yeah. So we better get this right, Ryan, because everybody's watching us. We better, honestly, I'm talking this up, and this is, we better get this right, because because there's a lot of people looking at this, so it's the deputy chief executive, right? This is your space. You need to go in. The first thing I want is that I want the alliance kept together. I want a federal approach to the whole of North Ayrshire. You're going to have to unite everybody. You're going to have to understand all the different languages. You're going to have to come up with your own language. We're going to have to come up with terms of reference. We're going to have to come up with a definition of well-being. And we're going to have a program, we're going to have a task force, and we're going to have a well-being resource. They're the 3 key areas of the alliance. Can you do that? And I did what I talked about at the start, and every single job I've taken to, I went, I can do that.
And who does it look? Do that? Well, it's a really good. Richard Branson says that, doesn't he? He says if you're ready for the job, it's the wrong job. If someone gives you an opportunity, take it and then learn how to do it. So I think you followed that remit to a T. But in terms of this alliance, because it sounds like you're doing amazing work. So who else is involved in it? Is it private? Is it public sector? Is it for everybody? Just in case there's people up in your area that go, do you know what? That's amazing. I'd love to get involved in that. Who's it for?
Right, so we've got on the alliance as high as up you can think of in public health, as high as up as you can think of leaders in NHS, as high as you can think in terms of social services, as high as you can think as the local authority, as high as you can think in terms of the third sector is as well, as high as you can think in terms of national. Probably just one step away from having somebody for the Scottish Government on it as well. Wow. We've got the governing body, we'll get SIMSPA. Where we're light is the private sector, and we just realised that. We just had my LinkedIn post that can announce it to the world in terms of our first workshop, and we realised we're light on private sector involvement. So that is, at the moment, it's a steering group, and we have one more steering group meeting, and then we move into the official alliance board. And as we move into alliance board, we'll correct that with private sector involvement. So basically, everybody who's important in terms of delivering well-being in North Ayrshire, and this is what we've been good at doing, actually has a seat at that table.
And that's what needs to happen, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It can't just rely on one person. I mean, it's great you're the chair driving it, but it's also important that you have the key players in all those different organisations there. So it's not the lower manager coming along, not really understanding what the process is. It is, you've got the senior players there. You can make a difference, and hopefully, once a year down the line, when you guys have got the processes in place and it's working, and you start to measure the deliverables, then other areas, other councils, other parts of the UK can look at it and go, do you know what? That's the model to follow. That's what we need. To give you an idea, I work with. I've been speaking to James Griffiths. He owns Wild Training down south. You might know him, and he's been looking at trying to launch something to obviously get more people active and so on. Starting his local area and looking to build it out. The U2 movement, and he found that down in his area, the local council had given £9 million for wellbeing to an organisation that had zero background experience, and you sort of going, that's £9 million that could have gone into a genuine company that had the experience. Working with you guys into an alliance like you guys have created. Imagine £9 million being pumped into that. The impact you guys could have would be incredible. But yet it's gone to almost. It wasn't Serco, but you know how you got Serco. They do everything from prisons to all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It was almost like they're one of those big companies with no real experience in wellness. There you go. There's some money, you guys, and apparently nothing's been delivered. They can't even justify where the £9 million has been spent. And you're like, oh, that is really almost like the pandemic PPE scenario. The money's just disappeared into the ether, and it's scary. And apparently that there's something like £189 million across England, not the UK, even England, has been pushed into projects like that, but I couldn't name any. Didn't even realise 189 million had been spent, let alone name them. And it's so organisation and alliances like yours, that sort of money then can actually be used effectively into proper programmes.
Yeah, no, don't draw me into comment on that, Ryan. I'll nod my head and I'll agree. But you'll probably find somewhere that there would be a commission decision on that was a wrong decision with no other lines of inquiry to check that decision. Absolutely.
I've got a friend who works in hospitals as well, and that's nearly as bad where the money's going. So, in terms of one final question on the sort of leisure, and then we'll start to wrap it up. In terms of what do you think the future for local leisure is? From my side, it's looking fairly bright, but it's obviously all you hear in the news. Clubs struggling financially and everything else. Where do you think the future goes for sort of local leisure services?
Geez, you left the best one to last, didn't you? So I think we have to diversify our product. I think we have to become more commercial in what we deliver and have high quality price points but are still a good value proposition. So we did at Life Leisure, we had a boutique gym. A box within a box that was hugely successful. So I think it's okay to chase the money, but almost have a different brand within a brand. Because we Leisure Trust need the money, because the envelope that's coming, the financial envelope that's coming through local authority because of local government settlements is getting less and less and less. So it would be foolish not to advise Leisure Trust to actually become more commercial and completely chase the well-being pound.
The thing is, the facilities they offer, Malcolm, are in some areas second to none. Some of these new leisure centres that are being built are incredible, and you think, why aren't you charging? And granted, you have to keep it open for the community, but you can do different price points to go, okay, if you're in this band of social economic position, whatever, it's this price, whatever you can price for the various services. And I think it's a real shame when you build a 15-20 million pound leisure centre, then charge it out cheaper than it's worth. It just seems a real shame, because they can make money, they offer great services, and it just allows them to do more if they've got the money coming in.
Do you know, 100%, and we've got some amazing people who work in Leisure Trust. I've got two specific examples of Scholesy and John Baker. And John's, I think, head of operations for the gym company. He was one of my general managers. So we have a lot of history of creating really good people that then go into the private sector and become hugely commercial. And you know what? They were hugely commercial in the trust sector, but probably were stifled by poor leadership, what we talked about at the start, lack of commercialism right at the top end. And I've seen So we have a lot of capability to move down that commercial continuum within the leisure trust sector. It's whether we have the appetite and the leadership ability to do that. So that's the first thing, the commercial side. The pivot to well-being, as hopefully I've explained, isn't about the brand and becoming a well-being company. It's about becoming a catalyst or intrinsically involved in the delivery of well-being for the whole of the local authority, and finding a way in to that space. You can't just wake up the next day and be a well-being company. You can't.
There's too much involved, isn't there? It's not, and I think from a training perspective as well. I mean, obviously, I work with Glenda, who is all about well-being, resilience, as you've seen, and so I hear it all the time. And you think there's no way you can take her level of expertise and suddenly we've got that overnight, and now with his well-being company, it just doesn't exist.
No. So it's the strength is in the federal approach in terms of well-being. So then my first point is more commercial acumen, and then my third kind of like directive would be generational. That I'm coming to the end of my career. Let's say I'm in the twilight. I think leisure trusts, we need to give younger people more chances, and we need to promote quicker. We need to promote talent quicker rather than time served. I'm very, very fast becoming outmaneuvered with some of the younger talent I see in this industry, and I just love it.
It's great to see, isn't it? I like to see talent coming through, and it's great to see the likes of the stuff Andy King's doing at is it GM Active now with his training course and stuff. And I don't know what you guys do with young managers, but they've got that whole young managers training program that's coming through, and I think that's been missing in our industry quite a lot. That we almost expect someone to go from a reception to duty manager to club manager like that without any real guidance, and suddenly they've got to be this great manager, and it doesn't work like that. You have to train people, give them the opportunity to learn and develop, and I don't think we do that. We almost expect them to be great managers, and we well know. I come through Marriott's training, and that was relentless in terms of the amount of training that you've got every year, and they knew by investing they got great staff, and obviously that drove the business forward. But far too many people or companies now just think we hire. Oh, we'll go out and find a great manager, and they just don't exist now. You have to be training your own staff to develop them into great people.
100%. And thanks for reminding me that I actually did a wee bit in the first program on the GM Active Academy, and you're absolutely right to bring the work up that Andy King and John Oxley are doing. It is brilliant work, and I think that the key message for that is not the skill delivery. It's the fact that leaders are willing to give up their time to create more leaders, and be happy to bask in the glory, not their own glory, but the glory of the new leadership that's coming up. I think that,
and there's so much talent around. I mean, obviously, I can name all you guys in the Leisure Trust. There's 4 or 5 of you that stand out a mile, and any of that expertise. And I know you guys are giving it back in droves. So it's really important that continues, so that then the younger guys come through and give them 20 years, and they'll be doing the same thing back because they see the value in it. So now, one final question I've got for you, Malcolm, and we like to ask all of our guests this before we leave. Now, I obviously got an indication that sport and obviously had quite a difficult upbringing and whatever, but and obviously sports helped. But what would you say is your biggest inspiration in terms of what drives you to carry on doing what you do now? It may still be sport, but is there anything that sort of makes you get out of bed and do what you're currently doing, making great strides in our industry?
Yeah, I think it's just I'm still seeking validation. Like I think I think people talk about legacy, but legacy is something that you can choose. It's not something that is actually, people get mixed up with talking about legacy as a thing. This is my legacy. Legacy is a choice, because people can break what you think is your legacy in a heartbeat by a bad comment or and legacy shouldn't be about that. Legacy should be something that you're comfortable with and that in your head, rather than it being an actual thing. and I'm still seeking my legacy through validation. So my existence is through my athletics and through my leadership capability, and I'm still seeking validation to this day for that. And it's when I say validation, I need to be really absolutely clear and give clarity that it's your validation on this earth is something that you have a God-given right to do, and you should take that up as a human being.
Absolutely.
And it's not about choices. It's about what you should do in your life. Regardless of where you feel you are. So I think this validation. Listen, some people talk about purpose, etc. Whatever you want to talk about it, the message is get up every day and be the best you can.
I love that. I love stories like yours. I'll quickly tell, because my dad's got a very similar story. It wasn't care home, but he was bottom set at every class he had when he was at school. And one of the teachers said, I want you to go to the swimming pool. There's a coach there who is looking for swimmers. So my dad went along at age 11 and started swimming. He ended up having trials for England, and bizarrely, he went on for swimming for trials for England, played rugby with 6 England players at Coventry, played cricket for Coventry and North Warwick. He's been he's 80 nearly now, and he plays county bowls. Sport changed his life, and even at school, he went from bottom set to top set in every single subject because of swimming. And you sort of go, that is the power of sport, and that is the power. And so I've always played sport in my life. I try to get all my kids into sport. So whether it's sport or physical activity, the value of it, and you've proven that again to me. To sort of your story is impeccable as well, and the fact that you're still playing high level, competing at high level, is amazing. Especially when you've got a really high position that you've got, because it's obviously not a position you turn up and do 9 to 5 and go home and just relax. You've got quite a stressful job, and you compete internationally. I think you've got a great setup there, and a real inspiration to a lot of people who look at life and go, and especially your attitude, just get up there and make the day happen, because you can. I love this statement. You can dictate how your day starts and finishes. I love that idea. So let's end it on that one, Malcolm. Really appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. It's been fantastic. I didn't think it'd been any other, to be fair. So really appreciate your time. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you and learn more about your alliance, or jump on board with you that, or understanding what KA Leisure are doing, then obviously we'll put your LinkedIn link and so on at the end of the podcast, so people get in touch. So appreciate your time today, and we will chat again soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, Ryan. It's been a pleasure.